All right, we are recording. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Thad Gamula. I'm with the QRA. I will be running you down the course virtually tonight. This is the Wormtown Regatta, Worcester. We will be out of the Donahue Rowing Center. This is the Coachins and Coxswains meeting. The regatta director is Patrick Diggins. I don't believe he's on here at this point in time. Patrick, if I'm wrong, just chime in. If not, it's all right. The chief referee is John Quinn, who is here with us today, who will go over all the rules of rowing and how essentially the race is going to be run. So we'll get done with the boring stuff first. Parking. It's going to be a little tight. I don't know how many of you were here a couple weekends ago with a snake, but if you were, you'll know what I'm talking about. As you can see in the graphic, we have a spot in the boat ramp for buses, boat trailers, rigging, everything for the team and the boats and the buses. Team vans are going to be parked in that dirt lot, and it's team vans only. No personal vehicles, team vans. And then behind the DRC, you see a little lower is permit parking only. That's especially critical tomorrow because we have, for example, half of that parking lot's gone, maybe even a little more because of doing work. We have 6 referees who have all their bags of stuff, and we're not parking them up on top of the road. So that's 12 spots left. So please let's be conscious about where we're parking and be courteous. The roadway essentially south of the boat ramp is a no parking zone. Please abide by that. There are signs up, no personal vehicles, no parking whatsoever. We don't want to anger the neighbors. Just stay away. And shifting graphics, this is where you can park your personal vehicles from the north of the boat ramp along the road. The bridge is under construction, but I believe they're kind of wrapping up, so they probably will not be there. I have it on good authority that they won't be there tomorrow, but I've been wrong before. And then just to direct everybody, directly across the way from the boat ramp is the post office property. Do not enter it. Do not park on it. Do not send your teams to go warm up down that road. Stay away. We've been getting along these last couple of years, but please, we don't want anybody to ruin it. Please stay off their property. And the last graphic shows you exactly what I was talking about for our parking lot being under construction. Pretty much a good majority of it is fenced off and you can't access, and there's even a dumpster taking up one of the spots. So just be aware. We do offer parking at the Shrewsbury High School parking lot. There will be a shuttle. Just don't I don't want to say don't overstep your boundaries, but just be aware, be courteous. All right, now to the good stuff for what we're all here for. So this regatta is essentially reversed from if you were here 2 weekends ago, the snake. We pretty much reverse everything and make it a little more interesting, a little more exciting. So launching and landing from the DRC, you're going to go off the north dock, which when you're walking down the ramp, that's the dock on your right. That's where you'll be launching. And you will go, once you launch, you will row up towards the 290 bridge. It's a very large bridge in the distance if you're not familiar with it. And then you will make the turn. And then your warm up is going to be proceeding on the Worcester shore. So you're going to go up, come straight across, come down the Worcester shore. I just want everybody to be aware it is a shorter warm up area, so make sure you're warm and ready to go. By shorter, you can kind of see it's about 1.5 miles. But there's a couple spots along that area you should watch out for. Directly across from the DRC, there's a shallows area at the pump house. Give it enough space. When you're warming up, please don't go across the lake and hug the shoreline. You're safer being in the middle of the water than close to the shoreline. There's several shallow areas that we'll touch upon as we go down the course. So you'll proceed down the Worcester shore, and you're going to go to the Route 9 bridge, and it's, once again, everything's the exact opposite, reversed from the Snake. The traffic to the start will be that it is the second arch from the left on the Worcester shore, the full arch. That's what you're going to go through. There's a line of buoys that go straight down the lake. Essentially, if you keep your buoys on your port side, you're good. Going up, continuing, there's another shallow area by there's a bright pink building. It's Malduca's, the ice cream place. Just there should be buoys out there tomorrow. It's shallow. Once again, don't hug the shoreline. And then you're going to be approaching your starting chute, which, just so everybody's aware, your starting gets a little narrow because it is in the area that we call the Narrows. So kind of stage yourself with plenty of space, but also with an earshot of any of the officials who are around and who are going to be calling your name to come up. Obviously, don't enter the starting chute until you're told to. And just so everybody knows, failure to follow instructions from the officials, they have the ability to give a 60-second penalty if they feel like you're being completely unsafe. But John will go over that in the later part. So once again, keep the red / orange buoys on your port side at all times. Keep large white buoys to your starboard. The start of the race, I'm just going to go briefly over the race course itself. John will cover all the logistics of it, but there's another slide here that shows us zoomed in. The extra excitement that this regatta brings is a large turn around the islands. So the starter will be on land at the beach, and then you're essentially going to make a large U-turn around these 3 islands and continue up. So just so everyone's aware, this is a zoomed in view of it. Our buoy line is represented by the dashed white and then the red dots. And that's the buoy line that goes straight down the lake. That's going to go straight to the Route 9 bridge and then continue straight up to the finish line. That's the buoy line we're talking about when we're saying keep it to your port. There are 3 white buoys that are out that you can see as you're going into the turns. Okay. So be aware of them. The white buoys you want to keep on your starboard side. They're placed decently far out. You don't want to go around them. If you go around them, it'll incur a penalty, but it'll also add much more time to your piece than you will want. So stay in between the white buoy and the islands and make sure those red buoys, there's 1 red buoy between the 2 islands at the end there. Just stay between red and white. That's the best advice I can give you. As we continue up after the turn, you will get your point going towards the Narrows. Now, the Narrows is called that for a reason. We ask that everybody is safe. We do allow passing in the Narrows, but it's the same thing. We kind of treat it as a narrow bridge. So just be aware of your surroundings. If a crew's overtaking you, let's make safe decisions here. And then you'll continue up the course. You will go through that arch. The second arch from now it'll be your right on the Shrewsbury side. It's the first full arch. There's a half arch and then a full arch. You will go all the way up and you will go through the finish line. Same thing. We ask you to row through the finish line. And it's going to be different now to land. We're going to ask you to follow what you did at the start. You're going to go up towards the 290 bridge. You're going to make your turn to the Worcester shore and start coming down that Worcester shore. And then at the gazebo, or slightly before, there's going to be a marshal who's going to allow people to come across. So basically, you're going to cut 90 degrees straight across the course, and then you're going to stage to land at the south dock. Just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of races coming down the course. There's a decent amount of time built in between some of these that you should have the space, and everybody should be able to do it safely. the coxswains, I ask you to keep your head on a swivel. Just be safe out there. We don't want you impeding racing crews, and we don't want you to put your boat in harm's way. And with that, I will pass it off to Mr. John Quinn, who is our chief referee, to go over the method of start and any refereeing points he would like to touch on.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Just a couple quick things. As I said last week, this past racing season is the first time we're starting to do these CNC meetings by Zoom. So if you catch it, which most of the crews are able to catch the information that we're giving out, that's great. If you have any burning issues that you just don't understand, the referees will be there on the front porch or in the DRC tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Please don't hesitate to approach us and ask what the question is you have. It's impossible to make a creditable answer to a crew while they're trying to get lined up in a race. It makes a whole lot more sense to ask any questions you have while we're standing around talking among ourselves and making assignments. So please, we don't mind us if you approach us. We'd rather do that. There's only two ways that we can know who is who at a head race. When crews are coming down towards the starting line, there has to be a number on the back of the bow person, okay? That number has to be fastened down in a way that it doesn't flap up. So there's we kid and we say use two pins, a top pin and a bottom pin, so it doesn't flap. But please do it. And then, so as you approach the starting line, we'll be able to identify you by the back patch on the bow person. Make sure the bow person has the back patch accessible. Don't put the patch on and then cover it up with a sweatshirt. It does us no good at all if it's on the back of the coxswain, because the coxswain's the last person we see going across. Then as they cross the line at the start line, and then again at the finish line, you have to have a number that's showing on the bow of the boat. The backpack number and the bow number on the bow of the boat are the only two ways that we know who you are. If we don't have that information, your time will not be put into the timing system. We will have no creditable way to give you benefit of knowing what your correct time was. We will not take your time that you took your time off your personal stopwatch. It's what the official timer is. Okay, going back to what Thad said. Again, as you know, the Narrows, we'll be starting down below the Narrows on the Route 9 side of the Narrows. There'll be a marshal there, and that marshal, she or he, will be holding you in place until we're ready to start your category of race. And that marshal and the starter will be in communication with one another. And once the race gets started, what we're going to be doing is releasing you onto the course in about 10 to 15 second intervals, depending upon how competitive and how quick the boats are. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less. Once we release you onto the course, once the starter says go, you may begin to row at a racing pace until the starter says go. And again, the starter will be the last person that says anything to you. Until the starter says go, paddle slowly. If you are chewing up the bows of the stern of the boat ahead of you, we will stop you. We will slow you down. We will do everything we can to make sure that that you don't do damage or gain an unfair advantage of the boat in front of you by passing too closely with them. Again, watch the buoys because as Thad said, the buoys are basically on your port side that you should be going around, and that they will guide you around the island. It's a complete turn around the island. When you come back, when you complete the turn around the island, you're coming back down through the Narrows again. Again, we're presuming that the narrows have been buoyed so that two crews racing can pass one another in the narrows. If that is not the case, I repeat, if that is not the case, and we have to rescind passing in the narrows, we'll let you know before you launch tomorrow. If the course has been laid out so that only one boat can proceed through the narrows on a racing pace, we'll pass that word on before we start out. What you cannot do going through the narrows is to go over the buoy that's on your port side into the oncoming lane. You cannot do that. That you will receive a penalty for doing that. Going downstream, there'll be a marshal at the Route 9 bridge. Make sure you go through the bridge arch. And then once you make your turn from the Route 9 bridge all the way to the finish line, which is at Donahue Rowing Center, is virtually a straight shot. The rules of passing, again, as they've been written and explained to you and have been distributed, if you're within a length of the crew ahead of you and you are making gestures and signs to pass that crew, the crew ahead of you must give way. Move to the side and let the faster crew pass. If you do not let the faster crew pass, you will be assigned a penalty. Okay. At the end of the race, again, as with any kind of a head race, you generally won't know until all the times have been posted whether you've been assigned a penalty or not. If you've been assigned a time penalty, you have the right to appeal it. What you cannot do is come in and say, I want to protest. This is not a process where you can protest a penalty that was given you or the protest a penalty that you feel should have been given to another crew. If it was reportable and the referee saw it, it'll be documented. If it wasn't seen, if it wasn't given if a penalty wasn't given by the referee, again, it will not be reported. Again, just to make that perfectly clear, I've been running the appeals jury at the head of the Charles for about the last 18 or 20 years, including last weekend. And 2 weeks ago at Snake Regatta, we made out really great. We had no penalties whatsoever. Everybody steered their own course and gave way when the time was necessary to give way. And we ask that you do that again. If there's any kind of an incident or an accident on the course, someone goes overboard or whatever, do not leave the person that's in the water. We might miss the person that's in the water, but we won't miss a stopped boat. And we will stop everything and and attend to that person first. Get them out of the water and make sure that everything is attended to. That is pretty much it. It's pretty cut and dry, same as the instructions were for the Snake, but except you're going in a different direction. And if you have any questions, put your hands up now, or we'll answer them for everybody. Yes, there's Ashley.
We have a scratched boat. Should we report that now or in the morning?
No, let's do that in the morning if you don't mind. Make sure Thad knows that because yours might be one of a number of them, and we'll do it just once, and Thad will make sure that we're informed of that.
Great, thank you.
But thank you very much for letting us know that. Anybody else? Joe, yeah, what's up? Joe?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Yeah, John, I had it in the chatted answer that we can launch from Regatta Point. Do we need to call in that the boats are on the water?
No, the size of the regatta is very, very manageable. If you don't show up for your race, we're going to presume that you're not going to race. We appreciate knowing scratches. We appreciate you getting telephoning down to Thad that there's been a scratch. But if a crew is not at the starting line in time with the race on the schedule, we're just going to presume you're not there. There's only 2 races, Joe, with any appreciable number of entries, and that's the men's and the women's collegiate 8s. Everything else is single digit numbers.
Right. And all 4 of our boats are together. Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, anybody else? That, I think that's it.
All right. Just a couple minor things I forgot to touch on. I was asked 2 weekends ago that if you are planning on taking the shuttle, or you know someone who's planning on taking the shuttle, dogs are not allowed on the shuttle. And that's it. That's the meeting. As long as nobody else has any questions, and if you do, if you think about it tonight, once again, this will be posted on our YouTube channel, QRA. Or if you have a question, come by in the morning and talk to the referees. Talk to John and the group he has with them. They're fantastic.
Dad, would you put the course map up again for a moment? Just
Yes.
like to see which the islands.
See if I can figure it out. Hold on. Feel like you should. Yeah, there we go. That one.
Yeah. So we're going around all 3 islands in there. Okay.
Yes, and I'm told that Jason has dropped the 3 white buoys to match this diagram, and the 1 red buoy between Coast Guard and Blake. So they're well within sight distance as you're coming around them to know, okay, I could be on the inside of this white buoy.
If you go real wide, we will not have the resources and the manpower to come chase you down. I mean, if you make a wrong turn and you wind up often in a different direction, there's no way that we can amend your time to reflect the time that you for the distance you think you might have rode. I mean, that's so. This sounds crazy, but I said it 2 weeks ago. If you're an out-of-town crew and you're anywhere near a local crew, following them might not be a bad idea, because it can be a little confusing up there. There's no question.
All right. Last chance for any questions. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming, and we will see you in the morning.
Okay.
John,
See you later, Jeff.